Hi everyone, this is Matthew Janda for CardRunners, and I'm here with 2014 versus 2011, Raising When Calling is Clearly Profitable, Part 2. So we're jumping in right where we left off from the last video, so let's do another example. So the cutoff opens and you're in the button. What do you do with Ace-9 suited, Ace-8 suited, and then all the way down to Ace-2 suited? Again, pause and think before you give an answer, so pause the video and think. And I'll tell you what I would do, which is, there's of course no answer here and it's impossible to solve, but I'd 3-bet them all except Ace-9 suited. Again, these hands just play too well in 3-bet pots and they retain their equity reasonably well. They also get 4-bet a bit less because of their awesome blocker. And I'm just not that thrilled to have Ace-9 suited against a cutoff opening range in a single raise pot, and getting squeezed is horrible. So even Ace-9 suited I think is reasonably close, although I do like calling that one, because when you call a cutoff open in the button, you're going to get squeezed reasonably often, and getting pushed off your equity is just so horribly bad. One other thing worth noting about this awesome blocker effect of having a hand like Ace-6 is we're not only blocking some aces in our opponent's premium hands, like pocket aces, ace-king, and even if our opponent wouldn't necessarily 4-bet ace-queen, we still block that hand too, but we're also blocking hands our opponent might be 4-bet bluffing with. So let's just imagine our opponent like 4-bet bluffs with ace-5, ace-4, ace-3, and ace-2 suited. We're blocking some of those hands too, which is nice, because especially in practice, I think when you do 3-bet a hand like ace-6 suited, there's going to be a lot of opponents where you just fold it to the 4-bet, even if in theory maybe you would defend ace-6 suited, and you might not, but even in theory if you did, you're going to fold it a lot in practice to the 4-bet. So that's another thing that's great about ace-6 suited's removal effect, is it blocks your opponent's 4-bet bluffs too a lot of the time. So what is the net result of this? The net result is, even in position, I'm really not calling all that often. So what am I calling here? Well, here's my default calling range. You can go ahead and pause and look at that if you want, but it should be really straightforward and pretty standard. And it's fine to call a bit wider than this, and many people will flat 10s or ace-queen suited, and others will also 3-bet ace-queen off here. I don't really have a strong opinion here. I tend to 3-bet and call 4-bets very aggressively now, so I imagine if you were to talk to other regulars playing the stakes I'm playing, I would be on the 3-bets aggressively and calls 4-bets aggressively side by a lot. The vast majority of the time that I'm playing in a 4-bet pot, I'm the 4-bet caller, which isn't fun to do, but people give me odds, and I 3-bet with stuff like 10s here, so I'm going to call 4-bet when they 4-bet. So what am I folding here? I'm folding like 7-6 suited, 6-5 suited, 5-4 suited, 4s to 2s, and all the suited gappers, and these hands are so pretty. If I was going to 3-bet bluff here, I'd prefer to use something like King 7 suited before I would use something like 7-6 suited. I've talked about that enough in other videos. If it's really confusing, you can ask me about it in the forums, but hopefully it's pretty straightforward. I, again, don't have an especially strong preference there, but I do pretty clearly prefer King 7 suited to 7-6 suited. I think just being able to flop a better pair is a lot. It's very important. So some players would disagree with me, but that's why I'm folding 7-6 suited, 6-5 suited, and 5-4 suited, and then 3-betting the suited kings. Not all of them, but some of them. The most important concept in this video. Despite me hopefully being a much better player now than I was 3 years ago, I'm actually lost and uncomfortable more often now in 2014 than I was in 2011. I never would have guessed you could become a better player and be lost and uncomfortable more often. The reason for that? I'm constantly taking lines where I expect to lose or taking lines where I know I'll likely be lost. I used to not do that. I used to always try to take the safe line. I was playing mostly no limit 200, and I would just, take the lines that were mostly recommended on 2+2's SSNL forums. I would take the lines that seemed very safe, where you couldn't really get lost. I wouldn't want to play a hand in such a way where I might not know what to do on a later street. I don't do that anymore. The clearest example of this is I'm constantly calling 3-bets and 4-bets out of position, expecting to usually lose, but I'm getting a really good price, and a lot of the times when I do win, I'm going to win a really, really big pot. So maybe I'm going to call a 3-bet with a hand that has some pretty robust equity. Like let's say I'm calling a 3-bet with a hand like Ace-8 or Ace-9 suited. Those hands can make really strong hands, especially if I make a flush.